Okay, I'm a bit scared, to say the least. So I wrote a speech, I guess, yeah. Oh, mna Siphosihle and Sithenkosi, ndingosazana ndiyana yeah. So anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a person who likes sharing, which often confused my dad. So today, I will not talk about the man of the nation or the icon. I'm going to talk about the cool dude who me and my brother got to know and love. It usually started with the flick of my light switch in the early hours of the morning, with my dad saying "Nkosazana" and kissing me on the cheek, asking what time I finished school, and with me doing the usual moans and groans. He then tried to start a conversation with me about anything and everything, and I, as usual, said, "Dad, I have to wake up in an hour. Give me a chance, home slice." Then there were those mornings where I would wake up and want to tell him my whole life story, and he'd say, after having a good earful, "Home slice, I have to go." In the past couple of weeks, my dad seemed to think I was the funniest person around. Those rides from school, home, and then to St. John's seemed to be the reason he laughed, and he seemed to be the reason I laughed. With what I believed to be triple entente, but informed later by Vuyo, it was triple entente. And every time we drove past the JMPD, that it was "Hello, dear police," not "Hello, officer." Phone calls with Veet always seemed to entertain, with my theory of, if you call me, then you greet me. So there would be dead silence for a good couple of seconds, and eventually one of us would give in, with me saying "Yes, champ boys," or him saying "Dombi." Or after being inspired after watching Medea, I would start greeting people with a very loud "hello" and ending with a louder "ciao," which made him laugh. I sat at school one day waiting for my dad when I see the number plate TVS around the corner. When he approached closer, I see a man with big headphones and a head-bobbing dad. With my door not even closed, he says proudly, "Aha, you know what it is, black and yellow, black and yellow." And from that day, my dad was a cool dad. My mom always said that she dropped and my dad fetched. Oh, how my dad did not understand this, because he found himself in the middle of the night at some strange neighborhood, but still woke up in his pajamas to fetch us from wherever we had just come from. And then there were those black suits, well, any color suits. Oh, my dad wore suits. And with the suit jackets, he'd grab it from the car, from the boot to be specific, and we'd get shouted at if our school bags were on top of it. He'd grab it, seem to look into the sky, and he'd pose. And then he'd flick it on, almost standing there in his own swagger, a word that he found so funny. Everyone knew I was the daddy's girl, which I think all started the night when my dad rolled on top of me when I was a baby in his sleep. We'd sit in the dentist's office, get my teeth pulled out, with my dad holding my hand. The 14th of May, a day me and my dad shared, something I was so proud of. So yeah, rest in peace, chum boys. Veet, home slice, dad.
Much better. Good afternoon. On the 14th of May, 1967, God gave not only South Africa, but the world a gift. And that gift was Vuyo Mbuli. And on that day, God knew that on the 18th of May, 2013, he would return. Today, I will speak about my dad. My dad was a very loving man. He was always there for us. He would be watching my soccer games, rugby games, basketball tournaments, and he seemed to wake up late at night to fetch my sister from whichever party she attended. My dad loved a lot of things, but one thing he did not love was Kentucky Fried Chicken. My dad was so irritated by the fact that it seemed every second day there was a new advert about KFC. And not only that, but when we were driving back from Soweto visiting his parents, we'd see about 20 KFC billboards. As most of us saw on Wednesday, my dad touched many people's lives in his 46 years. He was a very loving man, as I've said. The two most important times of my life I spent with my dad. The first one was when I was a player escort in the 2010 World Cup. I remember waking up at 4 a.m. to the sound of my alarm, and my dad had already showered. We traveled to a McDonald's far, far away, and we saw 10 other boys there. From that day on, I knew that my dad loved me, because he woke up at 2, and I knew that he loved me. The last day that he was alive, I was with him the whole day. I woke up that morning, went into the lounge, and there he was, drinking his coffee, watching Modern Family. He made me a cup, and we talked about Modern Family and how funny it was. Then we went to Cares, and he watched us beat every single team that they had. Just thought I'd put that out there. Then we went back to the house and found his friend Nleba waiting for us. We got ready in our dashing suits and drove off to Bloemfontein. We watched the rugby, but it was not a very interesting game, as we all know Queensland lost. Very disappointing. And then, before that, he stood up and said, "I'm coming back." And then, Cheetah scored a try, so everybody was happy. And then, I saw a man on the floor, and I thought, whoa, what's happening? And then I heard that it was my dad. And there was a very nice Afrikaans man there who took me outside to the balcony where we had a nice chat, and I didn't even realize that he had gone to hospital. I arrived at the hospital and saw that the doctors were trying to resuscitate him, and about 30 minutes later, I was told the news that he had passed. And the only thing I could think of then was, I need my family. And what a strong family they are. They've been with me through thick and thin. Yesterday at the church service, I was touched by something that a lady said. She said, "The only 3 things you have in life are trust, hope, and faith. And if you bind those 3 together, you can get through anything." Vuyo Mbuli. Mintiro ya bola bola. Shap shap. Eitzala.